So, Jeremy Zag just confirmed the second Miraculous movie. Words cannot describe how excited I am for this.
See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Oh, why am I stammering?
On January 30th, Jeremy posted a yellow number 2 on his story, which is very vague, of course, but most people, including myself, believed that it was some kind of hint towards a second movie, which was later confirmed by Jeremy when he posted this to his story. Now, there's about a bajillion reasons why I'm so excited for the second movie, but the biggest reason has to be the experience. The first movie was not released in theaters. Well, okay, it was, but it was not in the US, so there were other places throughout the world where you could see it in the movie theater, but in the US, they didn't release it in theaters. And that's mainly just because Jeremy was scared that the movie wouldn't do well enough. I still don't really understand all of the details about why they didn't, and it doesn't honestly matter. The only thing that matters is the fact that they just thought the best idea for the release of this movie was just to release it on Netflix, and so that's what they did. But it also means that I did not get the experience that I always dreamed of when it came to watching this movie. I always thought about dressing up to go into the movie theater and watching it on such a huge screen. I thought it was just going to be one of the best experiences ever, but I never got to experience that. And now that Zag knows the success of the first movie, I'm pretty sure that they will actually feel more comfortable with releasing it in theaters, so I'll finally at least get to see a Miraculous movie in the way that I always wanted. Now, the other big reason is probably the reason that like everybody else in the fandom is also super excited, and it is that we will finally get to see a revealed Ladybug and Cat Noir / like Adrien and Marinette. I mean, come on, it does not get much better than that. I'm so excited to see their dynamic and honestly just their whole relationship building and growing, because I mean, they aren't even together at this point yet. I cannot wait to see how it differs from their relationship in the show. Now, stepping away from all the excitement, I do think that it is important to remind you guys that even though this movie is now confirmed, it doesn't mean that it's coming out anytime soon. I mean, the first one took like 7-8 years. So, and the last thing I wanted to talk about, of course, is the theories. If you guys know me, you probably have a general idea of what I think is going to happen in this movie, and it has to do with the Senti theory. Yes, that's right. I'm going on a Senti rant for like the millionth time at this point. So I feel like this theory needs a little bit of context. As someone who has always believed in the Senti theory, I was genuinely curious if the Senti arc would be something that was put into the movie. But when the movie first came out, everyone was saying that had nothing to do with the Senti theory, and Adrien was 100% not a Senti. So at that point, I had not seen the movie, but I was just taking everyone's word for it. So I went into watching the movie thinking that he wasn't a Senti, which actually made me a lot more curious to watch this movie, because if you guys know the lore of Miraculous, you know that the whole Senti thing is basically the baseline of everything that has ever happened. I mean, Emily died, which is what caused Gabriel to become Hawkmoth, but he wouldn't have become Hawkmoth if Emily hadn't used the Peacock Miraculous to have Adrien. So if that wasn't the case, obviously Emily would have had to die from something else, so I was just really curious to see how they would spin that. Now, of course, nothing when it comes to the Senti theory was ever mentioned in the movie. However, at the end of the movie, we see Emily in the basement with the Peacock Miraculous. This tells us that Jeremy decided to keep the baseline story of how Emily died. The baseline story being using the Miraculous. And I know a lot of people would disagree with me here, but in my opinion, there is no other reason that Emily would have used that Miraculous if Adrien is not a Senti. So because of all of that, I really think that he is a Senti, which looking back on it now, it makes sense because the Miraculous movie is different from the show, but they took the exact same base storyline and used it. They just mainly changed the characters up a bit and also some of the events that happen. So I truly believe that the Senti arc will 100% still be a thing in the Miraculous movie universe, but I think they may change up how Sentis work, and like that's how they kind of changed the arc arc a bit. Just like how they kept the same storyline with Gabriel being Hawkmoth, but you know, changed up a little bit of it, like the events and stuff. And what I think they changed is how Sentis work. And I think the biggest piece of evidence that we have of this is in the show, anytime Gabriel would give Adrian an order, he would instantly obey. Adrian never argued with Gabriel because Gabriel stopped him from being able to do it. But in the movie, we saw Adrian stand up to his father. Like, bro was going at it. And I honestly love him for it. Meaning that I don't think that Sentis are necessarily controlled in the exact same way that they are in the show. So going back to the second movie, I believe this movie will be centered around the Senti theory. I mean, the movie ended with Emily and the Peacock Miraculous. That has to symbolize something. And one thing that I want to mention about this is like the Butterfly Miraculous is gone, right? Master Who has it. So in my opinion, this movie will 100% be centered around the Peacock Miraculous. So it makes sense that they would have kept the fact that he's a Senti from us in the first movie, so that way they could introduce it and explain it in the second movie, because they're introducing and explaining the Peacock Miraculous. Also, it was never explained how and why Emily died in the first movie, and it's probably because they wanted to wait till they introduced the Peacock Miraculous, so I think that will also be explained in this movie, which obviously really contributes to the Senti theory, because Emily wouldn't have died if she wouldn't have created Adrian. So like, I just feel like everything is just so connected, which is why I feel like I believe so strongly that this movie will center around the Senti theory. Other than that, I don't really have any other theories for this movie. I mean, we don't really know anything about it, but I asked you guys on Instagram for your theories on this movie, and one thing that got brought up a lot was a Mayura arc, which I'm honestly totally here for. I mean, Mayura played such a big role in the show, I could completely understand why they would have a whole movie dedicated to her, and I'm honestly really curious to see how this plays out. Like, how and why does she become Mayura? Is Gabriel behind it, or is this all just her? Let me tell you, I was seconds away from finishing editing this video when I remembered one of the biggest theories that I had for this movie, and I can't not tell you. So here's my idea. As we know, throughout the movie, Gabriel was becoming a lot weaker. Like, the power of the Miraculous was very obviously and visibly harming him, destroying him, making him become weak, and it was all due to the fact that he was using the Miraculous for evil purposes. But obviously, at the end of the movie, he gave up his Miraculous and he kind of turned to the good side, or at least we think. So you'd think that everything would go back to normal. But what if it doesn't? What if the fact that he used the Miraculous for evil won't go away? Like, what if the damage that it had already caused to him doesn't go away just because he became good? What if he still has to deal with the effects of using the Miraculous for evil in the second movie? And I mean, like, what if his condition gets worse? Because, like, you know how if you use a broken Miraculous once, you'll still die? It's not like if you use it once, you'll just recover, but if you use it multiple times, and you continuously use it forever and ever, that's when you die. Well, obviously the Butterfly Miraculous wasn't broken, but what if it's the same idea? Maybe in the second movie we just see his condition getting worse and worse. Maybe he just continuously gets sick because he had already used the Miraculous for evil. Like, his fate was already set in stone. Maybe that's another reason why Natalie uses the Miraculous. Maybe she needed to save Gabriel using the Peacock Miraculous in the way that Gabriel was using the Butterfly Miraculous to save Emily. I don't know. Seems like a pretty good motive. Maybe that's a little far-fetched, but I still needed to share that with you guys. Either way, I am super excited to see this movie, and I cannot wait for all of the little spoilers, teasers, and even concept art to be released, because honestly, those were some of my favorite things about waiting for the first movie to come out.